So Lord of the Rings War of Rohirrim is the newest addition to the Lord of the Rings franchise, and also is one of the newest movies that was just released. And honestly, it's interesting to see, the Lord of the Rings fandom actually move into the anime approach. This movie is directed by Kenji Kamiyama, who is a well-known director in the anime world, specifically around the Ghost in the Shell franchise. But I feel like this movie, or this franchise, Lord of the Rings, taking the anime approach, is actually going to have the movie be looked at in multiple different ways. I mean, there's going to be people out there who are not into anime but are into Lord of the Rings, or people who are into anime but not into Lord of the Rings, and then you're going to have a big mixture of both. And because there's so many people, I believe, who see it in that sense, this movie will probably have multiple mixed opinions. But me, personally, I thought it was an enjoyable movie. This movie takes place 183 years before the original trilogy that was told by Peter Jackson. And it's supposed to tell the story of one of J.L. Tolkien's side characters known as Helm Hammerhand, who is the legendary king of Rohan. And when his people and kingdom are attacked by a man named Wolf, who wants vengeance for his father's death, Helm Hammerhand and his people must take a last stand in the legendary fortress of Rodenburg. Let me first just say the anime style in this movie was really amazing. I enjoyed it, and I loved the gorgeous scenery and how well it was done, with the 2D animation mixed with, of course, 3D animation. And it's so nice to see how much anime has become accepted in, Western entertainment, even though it's still kind of like being looked at as like weird, and some people don't really like how it looks. But I mean, it's interesting to see how far it's come, because I grew up on anime back during the Toonami era, back when anime was like just starting to like become more mainstream over here in the US, but still in the Toonami era at the beginning, they were only putting like some of the biggest shows out over here. But I mean, now it's become so big and mainstream that it's being accepted everywhere. But there are still people out there I know who probably see it as kind of weird looking and not really the best kind of animation or the best kind of things to tell a story with. And that's why also I feel that this movie will be looked at with mixed eyes, because there are going to be some big fans out there as well who are going to see that this is a movie that shouldn't have been animated, but there are going to be some out there who are going to say like, oh, this animation looked really good. Not only was the animation great, but also I felt the story was done really well here. You could tell they fit a lot into this narrative, because I mean, the movie is a little over two hours long, but honestly I was only expecting it to be maybe an hour and 45 minutes, somewhere around that mark. But with what they had, they did fit a lot here into this story. But I will say this, there were times I felt like it was a bit stretched out. I mean, it doesn't really have like a fluid movement like, a lot of other anime films do. But I mean, it just felt like there were moments they were getting off topic and they were just stretching things out when they could have moved on. But overall, though, what I was looking for in this story was, did this feel like a Lord of the Rings movie? And honestly, it did. It really did. When it comes to the characters, without a doubt, my favorite character was Helm Hammerhand himself, who was actually voiced by Brian Cox. This guy was just lethal and dangerous. And honestly, Brian Cox did his voice perfectly. I was actually constantly asking myself, is this guy related to Thor? Because damn, this guy is knocking people out like crazy, and he's got sometimes weapons in his hands. Like, what does he need even the weapons for? This guy's fists are his damn weapons. Because, I mean, Jesus, this guy had monster strength here. But even though that he was my favorite character, the true star, of course, was Hera. And, of course, she was pretty incredible too as well. She's voiced by Gaia Wise, And she does actually remind me a little bit of Nausicaa from, Valley of the Wind, which is a Studio Ghibli film. But she also kind of reminds me of Sun as well from Princess Mononoke. They're both, these characters, just like her, are stubborn and protective and willing to prove themselves at any cost. They're willing to rise up to the occasion. But, I mean, Hera has those qualities as well. She's like complicated, she's stubborn, but she knows that she wants to protect Rohan more than anything. That's all she wants to do. One thing that also worried me, of course, about this movie was how much was this movie going to rely on nostalgia? Because when I saw the trailer, there were moments where we were seeing like flashbacks to, Peter Jackson's story, and I was like, oh my god, this movie's not going to just be a nostalgia movie, is it? But shockingly, it's not. I mean, yes, there are a lot of moments in this movie where you can be like, oh, I know who that is. Oh, I know where we are. Oh, I know who that is. And, there are voices in there where we remember moments from that original series. But this movie doesn't rely heavily on it. It is a story of its own, but it's like they have to throw in clips in there to remind us like where this story comes from. So, I mean, it's like there are some nostalgia moments in there they have to have in there. Overall, though, War of Rohirrim is an entertaining watch if you are an anime fan or a Lord of the Rings fan, though I'm not going to tie it into the methodologies here because I don't know much about the methodologies and a bunch of all the other stories for the big Lord of the Rings fans and how this movie like ties into J.R. Tolkien's world, because I'm just only a moderate fan, if even that, maybe less than moderate, because I have to kind of be like in a mood to watch Lord of the Rings. But overall, though, like I said, the story was good, but I feel like it was a bit stretched out. It would have probably been a lot better if it was maybe 20-25 minutes shorter. But still, it's an entertaining watch for anyone who's into either anime or Lord of the Rings. But overall, I'm only going to give War Rohirrim here a B. Solid anime flick, but I can find better. Alright, well that just about wraps up this review. If you guys have seen Lord of the Rings War of Rohirrim, please comment here down below what your thoughts were on it. Also, if you like my other videos, you can check out here more on my channel. And always remember to stay epic!